Playing video games is one of the most popular pastimes in the entire world. According to the International Trade Administration, gaming is a multi-billion-dollar industry with over 3.2 billion gamers worldwide as of 2023. You can probably imagine that with those numbers, the demand for new games is increasingly high. The industry that was once made up of nerds, tech enthusiasts, and professionals who were passionate about making something together has now majorly turned into a bloated, corporate, business-focused giant. As a result, video games are now produced and consumed in a fashion similar to fast food, and with that, the very heart and soul of the industry is diminishing. Today, I want to talk about how gaming became fast food. You've probably already guessed it, but the main offender that we're going to be discussing in this video are AAA games. There are, of course, exceptions to the rule, real gourmet restaurants of gaming that work hard to create a deeply meaningful experience, something nutritious for the minds of gamers, and this in turn is rewarded by the great reception that they so deserve, along with the one thing that every single game studio is fighting really hard to achieve: player retention. Everybody wants to make a Skyrim, a game that will be played for decades to come, a game that they can release like 15 times and people will still buy it. But what are we really getting? I think that fast food is the perfect allegory for the current state of AAA gaming because of the parallels between the two. You know when you go to a McDonald's and outside the building you'll have a big poster with an image of the burger and it looks so good there, really juicy, there's like lettuce and it's nice, green, crispy, the bun is so shiny and perfect, and then the reality looks like it was dropped, stepped on, and hate crimed, all in that order. Look at the flashy, exciting game trailers and previews that we get when studios are hyping up their games. So much is promised, it feels like a movie. And overall, graphics can be fantastic, and you've got these really fine details on things like hair and other small things that probably blew the budget way too big. And then you play it, and it's like, and that kind of summarizes AAA gaming. This kind of a misunderstanding is somewhat of a new normal because, hey, we can just do a day one patch if stuff is broken. It's sort of like they forgot to put the pickles on your Krabby Patty. You can just get up and say it, right? Sorry, sir, here are your pickles. And these are just the shabby standards that you get when you're working to get stuff out as quickly as you can. Now, of course, day one patches aren't unheard of. In fact, it is a pretty common practice that goes way back. But more and more, it's happening with these really high budget games that had a ton of hype around their release, and they're requiring multiple patches before they're brought to a reasonable stage. You would think that with the sort of money that goes into these things, the boastful quadruple A promises as they're now saying, you'd be getting a much higher standard, and somebody that paid for some deluxe early access version would be able to actually properly play the game. But because of the speed at which things have to be done and the scale of these games, a lot of things fall through the cracks, and we're getting these kebab shop standards. But of course, there is a side to this conversation that concerns the wider industry and not just AAA games. And that side looks at how consumer habits have changed. How do gamers experience games now as opposed to years ago? Just as the point of fast food is to fill up on calories quickly, gamers are now inhaling games quicker than ever and moving on to the next thing without ever really giving much time to a particular world. To fully explain this, I want to go back a bit. Though right now, gaming is an incredibly popular and I would even say trendy hobby, this wasn't always the case. In its earlier days, gaming was viewed as this thing that was either for real nerds and people who knew and cared about technology, or just for children, and it wasn't taken as seriously. It wasn't as accessible as it is now, where you can game on so many different devices, including your mobile phones, but back in its earlier days, you'd have to be someone who either went out of your way to get a console specifically for gaming, or convince your parents to buy one for you. There was, of course, also the slightly less accessible option of owning a PC. For me, that's probably the main reason why I did get into games. My dad is a programmer, so I've had a PC in the house since I was born, and I've always just had access to the latest and greatest games. And because of that, naturally, they did just like gift me consoles later on as well. People might have been a little bit more shy about gaming as a hobby because it was seen as a sort of nerdy, childish thing, and it seemed a little bit like a closed-off, very niche activity. It was a much more innocent time because the technology that you could play games on was very young itself, and most people learned how to use the computer while also simultaneously discovering these fantasy worlds and getting immersed in them in a way that was never before possible. We definitely take this for granted now, but the feeling of stepping out into a big open world and being able to travel all around it, speak to its inhabitants, slay all the evils that threaten them, was a really big deal. It was a deeply fulfilling experience that encouraged creativity and nurtured people's sense of adventure. Part of the charm was the mystery that came with it. You didn't have all of these YouTube tutorials on how to get to the next level or how to acquire a certain item. YouTube didn't even exist at that point. There wasn't a ton of guides and walkthroughs as soon as a game dropped, and so in order to progress, you really had to use your own brain and sometimes a neat little strategy book that came with those games. You would take your time with it, savor the world, go back and forth with it for months, or even years, and always discover something new by yourself. Learning how to play World of Warcraft when nobody knew how to play World of Warcraft. Finding Easter eggs and secrets in games because you accidentally stumbled upon them while slowly exploring a game world. There was no pressure. Nobody was going to spoil this for you. It was just you and whatever adventure you had going on the other side of your screen. The pace started to pick up when YouTube did become a thing and people started making videos about games, talking about them, and playing them. You could watch a video that found all of the Easter eggs in a game, and then following that video, you yourself could in turn find them to check a box and get an achievement. You could then watch an entire walkthrough of a game, part 1 to part whatever, where somebody completes it while you watch, and then you yourself can complete levels again without using a whole lot of your brain, but just because you want to get to the next level. But the biggest changes came with the birth of Twitch live streaming. Live streaming playing games is in itself a multi-billion-dollar industry. People have built entire careers off of other people watching them play games. And what did that mean for games? Well, if before you had people take their time, really immerse themselves in the fantasy, go back and forth with the game for a while to try and find time to play between their job and school, you now had people whose entire job was sitting and playing video games all day. And that's when video games started to become a little bit of a race, because how do you compete with a guy that sits there and gets paid to play all these games? As soon as a new game is released, there are tons of streamers hyping up the launch, no matter what time of day or night it is where they are, and getting into the action straight away. When it's a new game, of course they might have a higher viewership, it's the trend right now, and it's the popular thing that people want to watch. And then the streamer in turn has more of an incentive to continue their stream for longer and possibly finish a game in one sitting. Now you'll open Twitter the next day and your timeline is full of clips from that stream and a bunch of spoilers and loads of things that are already figured out for you. And I would also say a lot of FOMO, or the fear of missing out. All these people are talking about this game and you are missing out. So then you go and buy this game and all of your spare time is dedicated to finishing it as fast as you can because you want to know what all the fuss is about and you also want to be a part of the conversation. So then great, you finished it. You've devoured the game in one sitting or two sittings. What's next? The next game drops, and the cycle repeats itself. We are no longer taking the time to properly digest a story and let it stay with us for a while before we've already moved on to the next. It's like with streaming movies on services like Netflix. Before, if you wanted to watch a specific movie, you might have to physically go to the cinema or go buy it or rent it, but now you can finish a movie and immediately move on to watch the next thing. And again, because of how quickly people are done with games, there's always a hunger for the next thing. And there's always a studio that's ready to give you that next thing. On the one hand, you'll have remasters and sometimes remakes of already great, existing stories, which is fine, but you've been there already, so it's nothing new, not an original experience. It's just a better looking version of something that you've already played before. Can't go wrong with a classical menu item, but also you kinda can. Like a picky eater, instead of getting to discover some new, amazing dish that's doing something that wasn't done before, you go back to the safe thing like chicken nuggets. And yeah, they're great, they taste amazing, but they're not giving you anything new. Replaying a game in the form of a remake or a remaster is fun and it will have that nostalgia factor, but overall it dulls creativity because you're just doing the same thing over and over. There's no innovation, there's just safe options for safe money. Now this isn't the case for all games or all studios. There are still little glimmers of hope in the industry, indie devs making something that will actually be entertaining and nourishing for your mind, but a lot of things nowadays, especially games following that live service model, are the exact same thing over and over again, just with a different coat of paint over it. You have a ton of battle royales, Overwatches, Call of Duty adjacent, extraction shooters. It's just like a fast food menu. No matter where you go, you'll still get your regular burger and fries. It'll just have like a different name on it, but the minimal nutritional value that you get out of a burger and fries. These things are created not because they have something new and innovative to bring to the table, like the initial game that set the trend, but because statistically they think that this is the thing that's going to make them the most money. It's not about good ideas from passionate nerds anymore. There's no real depth to a lot of these games. It's just make what's popular, ship it out, and make people obsess over skins and battle passes. Monetize everything and keep offering it to people as sides. And there's that constant push and effort to keep your games current and relevant. What better way is there to keep your games current than seasons and battle passes? Battle passes are evil. I remember when Fortnite first launched their first battle pass, and you know, Fortnite was a free game, so I said sure, whatever, it looked interesting, it had some pretty cool skins on it. And then I realized that I signed myself up for chores. The thing with the battle pass was that you could pay for the entire thing to unlock all of the skins and items, but it was for some extortionate amount of money, or you could play every day, do specific challenges, and unlock each of the items yourself. If you don't have time to play every day, you're then conscious of the fact that once the season ends, you lose out on the opportunity to unlock the rest of the items forever. Items that technically you've already paid for. This generated insane FOMO every season, and you're kind of then just playing for the sake of skins and flashy items. They really played on addictive tendencies that little kids have and made them more prone to spending too much time playing. Overconsumption that's harmful in, again, a way that's similar to eating too much McDonald's. It's this kind of a misleading structure that's making you feel like you're earning something while you're playing when, in actual fact, you did already pay for this. You could of course go down the route of instant gratification and pay for the whole thing in one go, and speaking of instant gratification, level boosts. World of Warcraft level boosts, or, for me and a lot of people, the true downfall of official Classic servers. When TBC Classic came out, Blizzard announced that you would be able to buy a level 60 boost to join your friends in Outlands if you didn't get to play Classic. So you're telling me I spent all this time leveling, gearing up my character, building myself up from 1 to 60, which for the average player that has a job, for example, can take a really long time, and some guy can just pay to join me immediately. Not only did it create this awkward situation where you would queue up for dungeons with people who literally just stood there or went running into walls because they have no idea how to play the class that they boosted, it also meant that everything you went through with your character is kind of pointless now. You're not playing on level ground where everybody that went through the dark portal when you did is only there because they played 1 to 60 in Classic like you did. You just have a bunch of people that paid to hang out with you, I guess, without earning it. Bringing it back to the fast food thing, it's a lot like when you're really hungry, instantly filling up on whatever unhappy meal you've bought at McDonald's. Yeah, it tastes really good and you feel full afterwards, but really the calories that you get from there are hollow and they give you nothing of value other than satiating you for a little while. But just like the hunger will come back very soon, paying for a level boost when you didn't actually play the game to get to where everyone else is at is a shallow experience, with a satisfaction that fades very quickly. I think it's such a natural human thing to have to earn things and feel like you got somewhere because you worked for it, and over time, if you just pay to be super OP and play the game with people that did earn their level, so to speak, you're taking the enjoyment out of gaming, and things very quickly start to actually feel pointless. And they don't just feel pointless for the people that paid for it. They're starting to feel pointless for the people that didn't pay for it, the ones that did level from the very beginning, because, well, I could have just paid for it, so what's the point? Why bother? I think that this is why Classic WoW pre-level boosts was such a compelling thing for people, and we still go back to it all the time because of that. It's like getting a full, nutritious meal. It's a journey. It's your time to immerse yourself fully in a world and really earn your place there. A deeper, more meaningful, and infinitely more rewarding experience. Gaming has turned into fast food because the industry that used to be made up of really passionate, geeky people that were creative and wanted to share their passion with the world is now just a big corporate suit that follows strict rules, allows their games to be used as a political platform for the highest bidder, and shamelessly monetizes the entire experience, leaving you and your pockets empty. Just like a Happy Meal, the industry targets children by giving you something that's wrapped in colorful packaging, developing models that are in the long run often very addictive and offer no real benefit other than keeping you engaged with just one game the whole time. We have the games that people quickly run through and finish, move on to the next thing, but on the other side of it, we have a lot of games that are now built around taking up all of your time. This especially applies to games following that live service model where you're talking about seasons and battle passes and metas. If you step away from this game for even a week, you're gonna miss out on something. Metas might change, or you're gonna miss out on buying some limited time skin. You might not be as good at the game as you were last week. You cannot take a break because there's this constant push on FOMO. In other words, the games are made addictive, just like fast food. Gaming is fast now. It's not about digesting your experience of a particular fantasy world. It is carefully engineered around putting pressure on gamers, either to spend all of their time and money on one game, or to quickly get through the game so that you don't miss out and you're constantly kept in the conversation. I want to take a moment to appreciate old games that brought amazing and beautiful ideas to life thanks to the talented and creative people that wanted to take gamers on an adventure, but also to highlight the games that continue striving towards giving us something of value. A game to experience, to behold, and to take with us wherever we go. I cannot stress enough how important it is to continue supporting these new and great ideas, studios that don't succumb to these fast food practices and that allow their geeky developers to pour their heart and soul into projects that really matter. And that's about it for my thoughts on how gaming became fast food. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. As always, huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you all in the next video. Be seeing you. Bye.